Hi, I'm Marta Correa talking to you from the county's administration building on Pacific Avenue here in Olympia. We're going to visit Commissioner Edwards' office. Commissioner Edwards is retiring from public office at the end of the year, and we're going to have a little chat with him. Come with me. Commissioner Edwards, thank you very much for having us here today. Commissioner, you ran for office several times. What is your experience? You have a lot of experience in that.
Well, when I first ran for office, that was in 1986 when I was elected sheriff of Thurston County. And things were different in 1986. You know, you actually went to the polls and voted and got your little sticker that I voted. And it took quite a while to get all those ballots rounded up and somebody had to drive them in.
I bet, and it was probably much more difficult to reach out to your voters, right?
Oh, yeah. It was, we didn't have social media, so a lot of footwork.
Right. And how many votes did you have to have at that time and compared to now? Is it many more now or?
Oh, yes. I would guess maybe the election might have had 50,000 people vote in it. I really didn't look those numbers up, but that was probably all that would vote during an election in 1986. And I think now we're well over 100,000.
Right. More than double.
Yeah.
So, what is the secret to success? How do you get elected? Do you have any tips?
Well, I do have some tips. I think that no one thing will win an election, but a lot of little things will add up to a win if you do it right. So I believe your reputation has a lot to do with whether you'll be successful or not, and your family's reputation. Those that, you know, my family's been here since the 1850s, and I think they've developed a pretty good reputation, so I think that helped. And then the experience of being a lawman before I was elected, I think that helped. But then having those supporters in the community that knew you were willing to work and your work ethic. So having those folks behind you, it takes a team effort to get elected. And then you better be on good terms with your family, because you're going to put your family through quite a stress. And I think I mentioned earlier, my wife and I have been married 55 years now. And now we're just starting to get along pretty good, because I've been through 7 elections that were a real test.
7 elections. That's quite remarkable. I remember, was it this last time that you were so close to the other candidate and it was only decided later,
Oh,
right?
yeah, the later count. So I not only was close, I think I was behind by several thousand votes anyway. And so the votes still come in remotely and have to be driven into the office, and then they're counted. So the first tabulation, I was down, you know, several thousand votes anyway. And then each count over the next few days, then I gained ground. And I think I did eventually win by several thousand votes afterwards. But I do think it really helped. My rural roots, I think, helped. And that's where I was known best, was in the rural part of the county. And probably the growth, you know, population and such, maybe wasn't as much in that rural area. So I knew a lot of the old timers, and the family knew a lot of old timers. And when those votes came in, that carried me over.
And Commissioner, you're also a voter. You also vote for people. And how do you feel about the election process in Thurston County?
You know, I don't know about the rest of the country, but I do know quite a bit about how things work here in Thurston County. And the county auditor, Mary Hall, does a great job on making sure that your vote is counted correctly. So I've never had what's called a free ride. I've always had opposition in every race that I've ever been involved in. Fortunately, I've won each one of those races. But I've been on all sides of all the issues. I've been in the auditor's office. I've watched them tally the votes. The security around each one of the elections, I believe, is exceptional. And I'm not going to say we haven't had a mishap here or there where maybe somebody voted in the wrong district or shouldn't have voted. I can't say that because I don't know, but if it happened, boy, it's not very often that it would happen. It would have to be a pretty nefarious activity on somebody's part to get that through, because the auditor's staff does a super job. And I always, when I'm talking to the public, I'm out at a Rotary or a Chamber of Commerce, I try to let those folks know that in Thurston County, their vote is going to get counted correctly.
People that voted for you voted consistently. Do you know that if it was always the same people voting for you through these years, or did that your people changed?
As policies change, and even as sheriff or commissioner, maybe I took an unpopular vote, or and that made some people mad. Maybe it made others people happy. But I always strive to do the right thing. And even as sheriff, I tried to have the deputies do the right thing all the time. Actually, every deputy sheriff that I swore in, I asked them to treat people the way they would like to be treated and strive to attain my position as the elected sheriff by treating people the way they'd like to be treated and build a reputation. Always do the right thing all the time, not just at the right time.
And in your time in office, what was the times that was more remarkable to you being in the county?
Both jobs as the county sheriff and as a county commissioner have been very interesting, to say the least. And I've kind of developed a pretty callous, thick skin, if you will, because almost nothing surprises me anymore. Although I was dealing more in the criminal arena, obviously, for those years as sheriff. Now it's more policy and budget. But there are a lot of heartaches here in the county for a lot of different reasons. And counties, not only Thurston County, but around the state, usually don't have near the funding that municipalities have, for an example. So for each dollar spent, we have to do twice as much work. And what I often use is the Parks Department here in Thurston County. I think we've got 5 or 6 employees for this vast area, many parks. The city of Lacey, a smaller area, nice parks, quite a few of them, but they've got like 35 employees to deal with their parks. So the job here is to do more with less. And there was a county commissioner here by the name of Les Eldridge when I was the county sheriff, and we had quite a bit of fun bantering back and forth, because it was always, I had to do more with less. And I really did. I speak of that lightly, but I tried to have a good working relationship with the county commissioners when I was the sheriff. I just felt, and even here now, we have a lot of differences, but I try to have that cordial relationship with all parties involved as best you can. So no real surprises that stand out. I mean, we have horrific crimes that happened, and we've got situations that it didn't turn out right on a particular vote that the county commissioners were interested in, or maybe some revenue issues. And I've mentioned that the county has to do more with less, and so we have to figure out a pretty tight budget. And my goal as a county commissioner has been to guard the county's tax dollars, because a lot of hardworking citizens pay in to make this county function. And my job is to question all of the expenditures and make sure we're getting the best deal. And that's within reason, because oftentimes I'm in the minority. But I still do my best to get along with all the rest of the commissioners and make sure it all works and try to get my point of view on the record, so to speak. And oftentimes I'll get asked, well, if you're in the minority all the time, how do you ever win? Well, to me, if we were going to spend $5,000 or $5 million and I didn't feel it was appropriate or the priorities were right, I might do a lot of squawking, if you will, and maybe that expenditure will get knocked down to 3,000 or 3 million. And to me, that's a win, because I've protected those taxpayers and those precious dollars.
Did you feel like you were able to bring to realization your ideas?
You really only are going to accomplish a limited number of things. And when I got elected in 2016 to this position, the big thing was how much it was going to cost to build a home in rural Thurston County that the pocket gopher wanted to live on. That was a very big issue. And that had started up in about in about 2014, that actually got going well. And it was going to be very expensive. I believe if you refer back to the articles in the Olympian of the day, they'd talk about maybe $42,000 extra on your building permit to build a home in areas where that the gopher wanted to live. And so I think we were very successful. It took us about 10 years to get that accomplished, to get it down.
I remember those days, so many people show up in the meetings.
Yes, a lot of people were very upset.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not initiated by Thurston County. That was the U.S. Fish and Wildlife folks that came up with that under the Endangered Species Act. So oftentimes we're forced to react to outside influences. So that's what we as the county commission did. We worked on that issue so that people could maybe develop their dream. Maybe they've owned property, bought property years ago. Now they've saved enough and they want to build a home, but oops, the government says no. How do we figure out a way around that and protect the environment at the same time? So I think we were pretty successful in getting that accomplished. Took quite a while.
You're now leaving office, and what is the big plan, or what's going to be of Gary Edwards in the future?
My wife has been on the school board for 40 years out at Yelm. So she's went through all those elections as well. And maybe I want to pay more attention to my family. She's been gone a lot. I've been gone an awful lot. So now that I have grandkids, I have kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids. So I want to spend these last few years involved more in my family.
Do you have a message for the people that have been supporting you through your political career?
Well, obviously, I want to thank all of them. And unfortunately, you know, we've got over 300,000 people living in Thurston County now. And I wish I could talk to all of them and tell them that, but you can't. You know, you just can't reach everybody. But I've tried to be available to the public when they wanted to get a hold of me. And, you know, I've still got a circle of friends and such, but I just want to let everybody know that I appreciate their support. And if I disappointed you somewhere along the line, I apologize for that, but I tried to do the right thing as I moved forward and did my best to make sure that whatever we settled on was as close to correct as it could be.
If people want to keep in touch with you, is there a way you're going to be on social media or anything like that? Or
My wife does some of that social media. I'm kind of a Neanderthal when it comes to social media, but my phone number is still listed in the book, and it's been there all these years. I never had an unlisted number. I got a lot of calls over the years. I'm still available. I'm sure I won't fade completely away. I wouldn't doubt that I'll help other people do their thing, whatever that might be. But I kind of look forward to just helping my neighbors and being a regular person again.
Thank you, Commissioner Edwards, for serving the county as a sheriff, as a commissioner. And it's so important that people step up and do the difficult job, because this certainly is the most difficult job, right?
And public involvement is the solution, so come to some of the meetings, find out who's doing what, and if you agree or not, because every action that your public officials take is probably going to have an effect on you, either your lifestyle or your budget. And so I think it really behooves the public to get involved and go that extra mile. Don't let others decide it for you. Make sure that you go out and be an informed voter.
And that's all we have for you, folks. To all candidates, thank you for running. And to all voters, thank you for supporting democracy. To keep up with our programming, please visit our website at thurstoncommunitymedia.org. Thank you, everyone.